yes, to your wrestling. For death of freedom, a valid choice. Those of us don't kneel, don't let you cowards dare dominate. This world is wrong to be.
What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious, along with Jess, the Total Package, and Craig, the British Bulldog, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, Elimination Chamber 2013. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. Once I saw 2013 on lots of stuff, Jess, I got a little excited about reviews this time. These are getting a lot more fun to do. There's a lot more, let's say, good wrestling or great wrestling within these pay-per-views. What do you say?
It's 10 years ago. We did Royal Rumble 2013 last month. And this is kind of a continuation because of the person that was involved. We got The Rock back for a bit here. We had him back at the Royal Rumble 2013. He ended CM Punk's 400 and something day reign. And then they rematched here, which is kind of cool. They rematched here, and we'll talk about what happens. And this is the road to WrestleMania. So 10 years ago, February.
Yeah. Craig, any opening thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, this is the road to twice in a lifetime. This is the MetLife WrestleMania where Rock and Cena 2.
Yep.
So only 10 years ago feels like longer, even though it's in the modern era and it's in HD and it's a really slick production. Rock looks big and swole, and
yeah, he's a big dude here.
Punk's in it. They've got a good roster. Yeah, this was a strange pay-per-view for me, though. We'll go into it. Like, I'm mixed online. I think maybe I was in a bad mood when I watched it, but there was some hits and misses for sure.
I think hits and misses is pretty accurate too. I think that's kind of where we go. So, the Elimination Chamber took place in New Orleans, Louisiana, at the New Orleans Arena on February 17th of 2013. Our attendance was 15,699. That's on the pay-per-view, by the way. It was far less on Wikipedia. It was more like 13,000, just so you know. So I'm not sure where that's at. The buy rate, according to the stuff I found, was 213,000. Commentators here are Michael Cole, Jerry the King Lawler, and John Bradshaw Layfield. Josh Matthews was interviewing in the back. Our ring announcers were Lillian Garcia and Justin Roberts. The more I see what happens to Lillian here throughout the show, the more I realize why she left. Just saying. They almost killed her somewhere in here. Just a side note. The champions on the card, our world heavyweight champion is Alberto Del Rio. Our WWE champion is The Rock. Our United States champion is Antonio Cesaro. Our women's champion is Caitlyn. And the tag team champions are Team Hell No, which are not defended. And the non-card title holder was Wade Barrett. He is the Intercontinental Champion here. We do have a pre-show match where Tons of Funk, Brodus Clay, and those guys, they defeated Team Rhodes Scholars, Cody Rhodes, and Damian Sandow. That match was 4 minutes and 7 seconds. Anything to add on pre-show and what's going on there? Pretty basic.
Less we say, the better.
It's true. There's that's interesting stuff there. There's a little pre-show promo here that comes in, but really the Shield, I think, gets the biggest part of that promo, which is really good. I think we'll probably talk about the Shield the most here because I think we didn't realize how good they were sometimes.
They look together like babies. They're just tiny babies.
Yeah, tiny,
just
but not
clean
so tiny.
shaven and young and supple. What?
Yeah, I tell you,
that makes no sense.
Let's just roll right into match number 1 on the actual main card. Alberto Del Rio with Ricardo Rodriguez defeated the Big Show by a submission for the World Heavyweight Championship retainment. That took 13 minutes and 5 seconds. I just want to say one thing before I give the grade. I think it's kind of funny calling Alberto Del Rio a bully because he really is a bully. But then JBL's the one kind of calling him that on commentating the whole time. Just something I kind of caught there. Who's like the biggest bully in the world, in the wrestling world. I gave it a C+. It's not an opener that most would choose. While there are great moments in the match, there are several pauses which kind of slow down that match. But it's expected in a big man match, but you don't want that to open up. The splash by Show on the second rope was not very convincing to me. That's kind of my knock there. And the submission hold right away, it kind of shows that Big Show can get to the ropes very easily, and he just doesn't do it. It just wasn't convincing to me. While there are some big moves that you guys can talk about that were fun and really, really cool, those were kind of like my little funks on the match there. What do you got, Jess?
I gave it a C+. I just think that heaven forbid you push the Big Show as a big scary monster instead of someone that you dump red shit on his head on a tour bus and after you put it on blocks. Like they were trying to make Del Rio a face here, and it never worked for me. The only reason why Vince wanted to turn Del Rio face is because his announcer that would do the announcing of his name got over, of course, because it's something you say every week over and over and over again, so you're going to get people to chant it. So, but it's not a good reason to turn Del Rio face. And so I always felt like his world title run here sucked. And honestly, like if you just imagine if they put this effort into the Intercontinental Championship instead of having a stupid second world title, how much more valuable that secondary title would be. It just always struck me as like when they did this, the WWE Championship here was obviously the most coveted title because Punk had it and then The Rock had it. So that's going to be your number one title. Cena was going to eventually challenge for it. And the World Heavyweight Championship, which, by the way, opened the card at the Royal Rumble as well. So a month later, it's opening up the show again. Just fucking push your secondary titles better instead of having two world champions. It makes no sense. And I never liked Del Rio as a face. And again, you make Big Show the stupid buffoon instead of this big nasty heel. So if you actually pushed him as a big nasty heel and then Del Rio beats him, he beat a big nasty heel and it's a big accomplishment instead of beating some fucking guy that they dump shit on his head.
Especially the way he did it with the submission finish. It was smart. It was a way to take a big man down. It kind of made sense, but
well, and the match at Royal Rumble was the last man standing. Why didn't they have the match at the Royal Rumble of the regular match and then this match, the rematch, the last man standing? Why do a gimmick match for the first match and then for the second match? It's just a legit title match. It doesn't make any sense. C+. It was blah. Didn't do anything for me.
What you got, Craig?
I gave it a C-. Yeah, maybe it's not that bad. Like they work pretty well together. But it's definitely not a get him off their ass Tito kind of match. It's just Big Show at this point in his career. He looks good. He's trying. He's just at 1/4 speed. So it's tough. And I want to root for the Big Show and I want to like it. And they did the best he could with what he had and what this was. It didn't.
Get there, Big Show. Get there, Big Show. Oh, he's inches away. Can he withstand the pain? You gotta be kidding me! You gotta be kidding me! Well, it was there to get a broken arm!
Here is your winner, still the World Heavyweight Champion, Alberto Del Rio!
Stripped the tires off his bus. Like, that's not nice.
Trying to make Del Rio Eddie Guerrero. Never works.
It's not
only
same.
one Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, it's not the same. Match number 2, Antonio Cesaro is defeated the Miz by disqualification and retains the United States Championship in 8 minutes 21 seconds. My one note: I thought it was very rude that the Miz's music started before Cesaro even got in the ring. That was not cool. What the F? And you wonder why Cesaro doesn't have it when you like overplay his music before he even walks in. Whatever. I was so mad right at that moment, and I was also on my way to give this match a solid B. It was really good. It was hot and heavy. It was rough. It was snug, and then they do a freaking DQ finish on our pay-per-view, which I hate. Just let someone go out on their back. It's fine. So because of that, it's a C for me. I got really irritated with the DQ finish on a pay-per-view. I always do. You guys know I get really mad about that.
Or a knee of Miz, I believe. Yeah, right, it went down low. Yes. What?
This match as a result of a disqualification and still United States Champion
Antonio Cesaro.
So Miz was disqualified for.
I don't think that was intentional.
No, not at all. I mean, Cesaro kicked the leg out of Miz. He just accidentally landed in
Craig, what do you got?
I gave it another C minus. Yeah, the ending was just nonsensical and a nut shot and very strange and not sure really what was going on there.
I don't get it. Jay.
I gave it an F. I was
Oh
pissed
my
off.
God, really?
You don't waste my fucking time. Don't give me a Monday Night Raw match where you fucking make them do a low blow ending. Honestly, it was a rip off, and I want my money back
Yeah.
even all these years later. And I gave it an F because it was garbage. Like why even?
Did you
this?
think the work before that finish was really good though? Because I was really
Sure.
enjoying
I mean,
the
it's
work.
Cesaro and it's the Miz and it's
course it's gonna be
Cesaro on
good,
top
right?
of it. I'll say, and it's Cesaro and it's Cesaro, and like I could say that a
He's
million times.
amazing.
And I totally forgot about this match. So I'm watching it and they're starting to heat up a little bit. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I wasn't a big fan of the Miz being face, but that's fine. And I loved Cesaro's character here. I remember when they first brought him in, they actually put a fucking title on him and tried to make him have a run. And it was really good. And I remember it and I was like, awesome. And then when the ending happened, I was like, I'm going to give this match an F, and I'm super furious right now. Like, this is a
It
Monday
really
Night
turned
Raw.
you
You
off.
do this.
Wow.
You do this to advance your storyline to go into a pay-per-view that you make me pay money for. You don't fucking rip me off like on this.
I'm so
F,
shocked right now
full
because
F.
I thought you guys were gonna give me shit for calling it a C because the work was really good at
No.
that point, and you guys created it worse than I did.
I gave it an F.
I love
yeah.
it. I love
And I
it.
don't change my
It's so
mind.
good. Quick little recap in the back. Kane and Daniel Bryan have a conversation. And
Have an
Kane
awful
calls-
scripted conversation.
Yeah, he calls Daniel Bryan a seventh dwarf. That was kind of funny, but it was not a very good.
That's not nice.
That's not nice. You can tell Daniel Bryan's carrying all those things with his just Team Hell No stuff.
And the whole point being they're both in the Elimination Chamber later, so that was the whole point. Of
Yeah,
the
because
little
you're building
conflict.
up to that. So, and that is match number 3. We can talk about why this is in the middle of the card, even though that we are in an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. But I do get it. It is The Rock coming up at the end, but it is match number 3, the Elimination Chamber match. It goes for 31 minutes, 18 seconds, with Jack Swagger, with Zeb Coulter defeats Randy Orton, Chris Jericho, Mark Henry, Kane, and Daniel Bryan, and earns a heavyweight title shot at WrestleMania. I gave it a B+. I'll briefly read how it went through. We started with Jericho versus Bryant, then Swagger came in, followed by Kane, then Randy Orton, and finally Mark Henry before anyone is ever eliminated, which was kind of cool. Everybody was in there. And then Henry goes on an absolute tirade. He pins Bryant, then he pins Kane. And then after that, he gets just destroyed by everyone. Everyone gets a finisher on good old Henry. And Orton pins him with that ton of help. And then Orton also pins Chris Jericho. And then Swagger gets the quick roll-up on Randy Orton. To a great crowd disappointment, I might add. They were not happy with that finish. But I know they wanted to really work with Swagger here and get him going. So I understand it. But Orton was so hot here and so over. I get the crowd kind of groaning at the end. What you got, Craig?
I give it a B+ too. It was a lot of fun.
It's really good. Really good
Yeah.
match. I want to save you. Hope you guys give the highlights. I wanted to say that stuff for you, all the high points you might have seen and wanted to comment on.
A lot of guys in the ring at the same time. Like it seemed like the eliminations were kind of late. Daniel Bryan was eliminated first. It was good. I did not remember it, so the ending caught me really unaware, and so I actually popped for Swagger doing a quick roll up. So I was, and then I enjoyed Henry getting kicked out and then going back in, and then giving inducting everyone into the Hall of Pain. So there was some good stuff in it. I
That's
enjoyed
actually
it.
a really
B+.
good move name, calling it the Hall of Pain like that. Was
right down, left stand. The force of Mark Henry driving Orton through the pod.
they're all going to the Hall of Pain. Yeah, I
Yeah.
chuckled at that one. Jess, any highlights? And I also wanted to ask you, Jess, because I think you have a lot of knowledge of the chamber. It was big. Like I feel like they make it so much smaller now. That chamber was I think that was like the original chamber that they made with all the excess steel and the chain. This was the really heavy one. Am I correct on that, or do you recall?
I think it was the same size. It did look huge and impressive. Maybe they did widen the ramps because they had a fucking double suplex big Mark Henry on it. So maybe it was bigger for that reason. I gave it the same grade. I gave it a B plus. I would have given it probably a higher grade. I hated the ending. Listen, I know the We the People gimmick was fine, and Jack Swagger's a good athlete. He never had the it factor to me,
No.
and I never cared for Jack Swagger all that much at all. And then you do an ankle lock that reminds me of Kurt Angle, who's way better than you, and I just don't. I never cared for Jack Swagger. I hate to say it. I like the Zeb Coulter thing, and then Cesaro would end up joining them, and they did the We the People stuff, and that was a great mid card gimmick. But it was never. And the match between Del Rio and Swagger at Mania was shit, and like again, it just put a period at the end of Del Rio's shitty face run as champion.
It wasn't Del Rio on his way out too. I'm trying to recall on that.
No, he was fine. He beat Swagger at Mania, which again made this all anticlimactic that they sacrificed a Elimination Chamber match for him to lose.
Swagger from behind, shoulders down. Swagger he got him. Swagger did it. Swagger's going to WrestleMania.
And number one contender, Jack Swagger.
This is shocking. Jack Swagger shocks the world tonight. Jack Swagger conquers the belly of the beast. Jack Swagger is going to WrestleMania. Jack Swagger America, just like Zeb Coulter said, has started.
I think you use somebody like Jericho, I think Jericho was a heel here. Maybe he was a face. And you have Orton and Jericho, which should have went on to WrestleMania, because I'm reading WrestleMania 29 results here, which was a little over a month later, and Jericho lost to Fandango. At WrestleMania.
That's right.
So my thing is just like, Jesus, man, like, why couldn't Jericho have taken on Alberto Del Rio and been a heel, Jericho being the heel, if you're trying to push Del Rio as the face? Sure. I don't think you should do that anyway, but if you're already on that path, Jericho or Orton should have went to Mania as the heel and put Del Rio over. You don't need to give me two fresh guys to show me that, again, if this was the Intercontinental Championship, I wouldn't have shit to say, but it's one of the World Heavyweight Championships, so I have a lot of shit to say. So it's just, I didn't like the ending at all, but it was a B plus because, man, they did some cool shit in here. Orton's spot where he went in there and fucking RKO'd everybody. The crowd went shit crazy for Orton, which of course is Randy Orton.
I enjoyed this stuff with Mark Henry too. Like the code breaker was hit, and I think Orton got
Henry going in there, cleaning house after he got eliminated to remind everybody.
He shook it off and went back in there.
To remind everybody that 45 days later, he would cleanly pin Ryback and end Ryback's undefeated streak. So, like again, Vince McMahon, hard at work here, doing a bunch of bullshit. So, it was the best match on the card grade wise for me. B plus. And
did you say that was your highest grade?
Yeah, that's my highest grade.
Oh wow. Well, I guess we're gonna disagree. Wow, that's weird. And I'm sorry, Craig, you also gave it a B plus, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go to what I thought my favorite match was. This is, and I don't think it was my favorite match when I watched it 10 years ago. So watching it with fresh eyes, this is John Cena, Ryback, and Sheamus losing to the Shield, consisting of Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. That was 14 minutes and 49 seconds. I gave this an A minus. I thought it was nonstop action all the way through. The best match so far was what I typed because I wasn't sure how the rest of them were going to go. But for me, it was the best matchup on the entire card. The crowd was white hot this entire time. The chanting that they're doing for the Shield, Cena sucks. Let's go Cena. This was by far what everybody was the most into. The tag team coordination of the Shield, I forgot how good they were together. They really worked on their craft as a 3-man tag. And they were tagging and then doing a second tag so all 3 members would get their shots in. And you don't see that very often, especially not back here. And I was really enjoying it. I'm like, damn, and you go back, you look at where all they are now. Seth Rollins is at the top of how big he's ever been, even though he doesn't carry the title. Roman Reigns is breaking records on titles, and then Dean Ambrose is at the top of AEW. They're all wrestling in this match, along with Cena, along with Sheamus, and it is action packed. Ryback is the odd man out here. He's terrible, but the crowd loved him at this point. He's so hot. So I gave it an A minus. Craig, are you with me or against me on this one?
No, I give you a B plus. Also, A lot of good fun in this. Shield was only 3 months old at this point, so
Seriously?
yeah. So
I
I
did
had
not
to
know
I had to
that.
Google it. So for them to have make Cena's team see the lights. So early, I mean, and credit to Cena and them for kind of putting them over. But like their synchronicity towards on the end and the finish sequence, they were so fast paced, and I loved it.
I forgot to mention too, just before you give your grade, this is where they went through the barricade and Lillian was in the announcer booth and they almost like completely destroyed her with that barricade. It could have been really bad if they'd come in a couple feet more. They might have crushed her legs. It was really, really scary. You can tell she was scared for her life too. And then I don't know if it was before or after she took that rope hit and really messed up her back because somebody came in and did the rope whip while she was coming out of the ring.
Oh wow!
And I can't remember who did that. Jess, you might remember, but she was getting hurt or almost getting hurt a lot here. Like people had no regard for Lillian Garcia. Well, what's your grade, Jess? What do you got?
I gave it a B. I really liked it a lot. The only thing I didn't like was because I know where everything's going, and it was obvious what they were setting up for, and that's Cena and The Rock, because Cena had already won the Royal Rumble the month before. So
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Cena, like, first of all, you beat Ryback, which I'm not talking about like who's a better worker in the ring. He was their undefeated guy, and he was actually getting a lot of fanfare. Like people were really into Ryback, and you pin Ryback, which is weird. Like because I always thought that I forgot all about that. I thought that Mark Henry beating him the next pay-per-view WrestleMania that ended his undefeated streak, but this did. He got pinned clean by Roman, and or Seth actually fell on him because Roman speared him. But
Yes,
I was
that's
like,
right.
you take your guy that you're going to main event WrestleMania in like a month against The Rock, and John Cena stood there for about 30 minutes after the match, going, "What happened? What happened? Do you see what happened? Did you see what happened?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
what?
did.
Referee, what? Wait, what? Ryback, what? Sheamus, who's been fucking sleeping on the outside for 30 minutes, like, what happened? What? What?
Oh man.
What? And I was like, I was annoyed. I was like, cut the fucking camera.
Yeah.
You have the star of your company that's going to go main event The Rock and win the title, by the way, at the next month of WrestleMania, and you're fucking filming him for an hour being a total idiot, like not understanding
Ryback
what
probably
happened.
missed
When
his cue to huff on out. He was too slow on it.
Yeah, and Ryback huffs out, and I'm like, so he loses, and now he's a bad sport? That's weird. That's not going to get people to cheer for him. Like, it's just really the whole booking here was. I mean, I gave it a B because the match was great. The Shield was phenomenal. What a way to push them. But
Yeah, they
like,
were so
I
good.
just was weird by the whole thing. I was like, the ending. I was like, what? Like,
I see.
that's your
What
guy.
when you say it like that, and you know where Cena's already going. It's kind of it makes. The
But they were
match an
telegraphing
afterthought.
it. He won the Rumble, so you know
I
that
get what you're saying.
Punk's
Yeah,
not going to
totally
beat Rock.
understand.
You knew that. Like,
That makes
so
a
to
lot of
Dave's
sense.
point earlier is the Punk match shouldn't have even been last because you fucking knew the Rock was going to beat him. You knew Punk wasn't going to
Yeah,
win the title back.
I can watch it
Like,
in a vacuum and forget about that, but I know Jess, you would never forget that because you knew what had happened and where it was going.
Attitude adjustment. A spear. A spear. A spear. Cover. The Shield has done it. Ryback was going for shell shock. Roman Reigns about speared him out of the building. Which one of you two saw that coming? I'll tell you who's the most shocked person in this arena. John Cena.
And I
so
knew
it's
it was-
weird to
I
me
knew it was Rock
that you
and
put
Cena,
Cena in an odd 6-man, and like it's just weird. And like again, it's a B because the match was great. Like I really love what they did,
Yeah.
and Ryback almost killed Ambrose, like just cold-blooded murder. Like in there when he picked him up, he threw Seth in the corner, and then he picks up Ambrose in a power slam and body slams him into the corner that Seth was in, and Ambrose
Yeah.
almost fell on his fucking head. And I was like, oh, like when he did that, I was like, Jesus, Ryback, calm the fuck down. And they did impressive shit though, like he caught Seth jumping off the top rope and then he pressed him. That was fucking awesome.
That looked
Like
like it
so,
hurt, by the way. That was
yeah, there was just a lot of Ryback was crazy.
Yeah.
But
I'll
I
fix
mean,
it.
you know,
Jesus.
just tell me the story. If you're going to push Ryback, don't beat him. And if Cena's going to be the main event in a month, like, don't fucking make him look like, well, no, really, like, someone needs to tell me what happened here. I would like a written dissertation of what just happened right now. I had him in the F5, and then my guy got pinned.
Ryan,
and he's doing that for
Ryan. I'm not
fucking-
blaming you, Ryan. I'm not blaming you.
It's ridiculous. And then Sheamus finally wakes up from his nap and he's like, I don't know about you, but I feel fucking good because I was asleep for like an hour. And he's like, no, I know, but guess what happened? What?
In the words
I
of
don't
Archer,
know
that's
what
really
happened.
bad
Like,
for you.
yeah, it's a whole thing. Like, and I was like, why are we doing this? Why are you showing Cena so confused and stupid?
Yeah, I don't know. That is weird. But it's supposed to be like, oh, they got one over on us kind of thing, I guess.
What?
You know, because it's the show. I don't know.
What?
Match number 5, Dolph Ziggler, accompanied by AJ Lee and Big E Langston, defeated Kofi Kingston in just under 4 minutes. Apparently, Dolph is not booked here and he's not happy. So Booker T gives him a match with Kofi. Even though it was short, I give the match a B-. It was really good work in there. What was really weird to me is Big E beating the crap out of Kofi when New Day is
That was
not
weird
too
to
far
see.
away.
That
It
was weird to see.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, B-. I don't know. I liked the match. It was good. It was just short. I would have loved to see them go 8 minutes, 9 minutes to see what they can really do. But again, it was good for a 4-minute match. They did what
This
they
sounds
could with
super
what they had.
creepy, but the entire match, I was like, AJ Lee has no fucking fat on her body. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, every time I watched her, I was like, you have zero fat on you. Like, she was
Yeah.
always like super like ripped and in shape. And I was like, good God. Like, man, I forgot how great AJ looked.
Yeah.
Oh, Kofi Kingston! Yeah! See you bye! Dolph Ziggler wins this impromptu match here tonight at Elimination Chamber.
Here is your winner, Dolph Ziggler.
Any grades?
my-
Sorry.
I give it a C. It was just
C.
just a 4-minute filler, but yeah,
C.
I thought the same thing. I was just kind of enamored in watching AJ Lee the whole time, and to see a young Big E like kind of
And
fit
Big
his
E
little
being
role.
massive. I mean,
Big
he's
E-
always massive, but he
yeah.
was fucking massive.
And I was
Yeah,
like, I think he's putting some knees into Kofi there. I don't think they even were friends at this point. Who knows? But like, it was weird to see. I agree.
Yeah, weird to see it when New Day is not too far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. The Funkadactyls get a good excuse to dance, and Tensai explains his face drawings. I laughed a little bit because he's like, it's supposed to be a Japanese saying for bravery, but it could just be a menu. And I was like, oh my God.
But in reality, it said the word stupid. So that's the reality of it.
Yeah. Caitlyn defeats Tamina in match number 6 in 3 minutes and 15 seconds for the to retain the WWE Divas Championship. I almost didn't recognize Tamina at all. It was a D. It was a cool down match for the main event. That might be generous.
D.
D for dumb.
Whoa. This is when they did cool down matches. I don't know if they do it anymore, but that's what that was. Okay, match number 7. The Rock retains the WWE Championship against CM Punk, even though he could have lost the belt by being disqualified or being counted out. That match takes us to 20 minutes and 55 seconds. I'll give it a B. It was a great build. The crowd was super into it. You can see the swell building up into the match. I just didn't really appreciate the finish with the double ref injuries, but I also see it as Punk trying to save face as he loses to The Rock a second time. But I gave it a little BB.
I gave it a B. They worked. I like they took us outside. It was the same as a Royal Rumble match, and it was the same stupid screwy finish
It's a
as
good
a Royal
match.
Rumble match.
Yeah.
I don't know why they just at this point just put The Rock over clean. Like I don't understand why, because they did weird chicanery at the Royal Rumble too, and that to me that made The Rock look weaker. And
It does.
and it wasn't Punk, it was Vince. Like Vince felt guilty for riding his back for 400 something days, and then when he gets his little baby bear The Rock back, he's like, oh, he's beating everybody. And it's like, okay. And Punk was pissed back here, and part of when after he left about a year after this, why he was so mad, he's like, it's like you want to build stars and you bitch all the time that, man, people like The Rock and Austin and Hogan, there'll never be more people like him. He's like, right, because every time you start to build a young guy, one of those guys come back and we have to lose to him. And so Punk's just like, why don't you fucking make me beat The Rock? Why don't you which is silly in itself. Saying that out loud is crazy. You know what I mean? But like, cause no, he's not going to pay all The Rock all that much money to have Punk fucking beat him. So, but at the same time, Punk's point was like, why don't you just book it different? Why do you put us in the way of that freight train? When the Rock freight train's coming back, don't put me on the tracks and let it run me over. And Vince did it, and Vince didn't value CM Punk as much as Cena or The Rock, and it's all obvious, you know, or even Triple H. He didn't value him as much as Triple H, and it's just that's what happened, unfortunately. And I hate it. I was never like a major Punk fan, but I appreciated what he did back in the day.
Yeah.
Back during this time and with the Paul Heyman run, super entertaining and awesome. You understand, you feel for the guy. You're like, well, if you want a new Rock and a new Austin or a new Hogan or whoever, you got to push someone as such.
Yeah.
However, like counter that, they also have to catch fire like The Rock did. And CM Punk caught fire-ish, like during his pipe bomb time or whatever.
Sure.
But really, like, Rock couldn't be denied. Austin couldn't be denied. Hogan couldn't be denied. They were so undeniably heads and shoulders above of whoever they were with at the time that they were like, oh, we got to push Austin. He's on fire. Oh shit, this guy named The Rock. We got to push The Rock. He's on fire. Like, so, and I'm not saying Punk couldn't have got there. It's just that Vince didn't want to have the patience with Punk, unfortunately. Even though he cut that great promo, which changed everything, and then he did put the title on Punk, I felt they did neuter Punk. I will defend Punk when it comes to that. And I do defend the whole theory of like, look, if you want a different, if you want one of those old superstars, or you want us to grab the brass ring, stop making these fucking old guys beat us all the time.
If you look at it now, that's what they did. I mean, I know it's a lot older, but when Stone Cold came back at WrestleMania, he didn't wrestle Roman. He wrestled KO, which is fine.
Yeah, which was safe and fine.
Yeah. So I think that formula is being attested to now.
Yeah,
and
the Rock, Austin didn't come back and pin Roman. That would have been ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. So much better outcomes nowadays. Craig, what was your grade, bud?
I give it a B. I really like how the match started. Very slow pace, a lot of psychology.
Yes.
I kind of got less interested the longer they went. And then the ending and like the Royal Rumble match, like I just got the sense, and I know nothing about backstage or whatever, but I just got the sense that like this is the best ending that they could come up with that Punk would probably agree to. And
that's what I thought too.
Both in this and Royal Rumble, it's just stuff that's like, really? Like this is what you guys kind of come up with, trying to protect kind of each other. It just
I also think that there would have been other wrestlers that would have said that doesn't work for me, brother. You talk about Hogan. Like if Punk tried to tell him that, he'd be like, yeah, that's not happening. Yeah, Stone Cold probably too. But I hate to say it, The Rock, maybe a little bit to his detriment, wanted to work with that. Like, say, hey, I'll work with you. Yeah, I think that's always been The Rock's kind of MO. He's never kind of said, I don't think he said no to anything that's not totally unreasonable. He completely changed the Rock versus Hogan match. I mean, they in the ring, they decided to take it a different way because it was working differently with the crowd.
Yeah.
He's very flexible. So I could see him going, it's fine. If that's going to make you feel better, let's do that.
I love reading into things too much too. I got the sense they didn't really like each other, Punk and Rock, for some reason.
Probably not.
But
how many people does CM Punk really like that would come in and piss in his territory?
Right. And I'm absolutely like full of shit and completely projecting. Like you look at them, they don't like each other. Like it's obvious that Punk.
Well, I could feel like Punk doesn't like the idea of what The Rock is doing at that moment and what's happening. So
in that famous podcast that he did with Colt Cabana, he actually addressed it and said, "I know people want to like paint it a different way." He's like, "The Rock and I are fine. Dwayne and I are fine." And he's like, I had no problems with Dwayne. And he's like, so, everybody wanted to spin that. And he was like, I had no problems with The Rock. We got along fine.
I think he's like, a problem with what it
I was speaking up for my position, and I didn't like the choice that they made, and the way that, again, the freight train of The Rock ran him over.
Do you think he dislikes Brock though? That's the question. I don't think he dislikes Brock either. It's just the idea that they would allow Brock to do shit that they wouldn't allow Punk to do. It's like, well, it's a double.
I don't think he likes. I don't think he dislikes Brock either. I think he's fine with that. I think he's fine with more people than we think. I think he had a problem with Triple H and Vince, and that was his. That was his problem.
And he's made that very clear as to why.
You
guys got any final grades, like average for the what do you put it? You put it in the C.
I give it like a B minus, I guess. It was fine. I mean, it was a B show. It wasn't the Rumble. It wasn't a Mania or SummerSlam or Survivor Series or whatever.
I think the Divas match was totally unnecessary. They could have ran promo work between or something. That brings the grade down a little bit. I think the Dolph Ziggler, just the way that came up, that could have been a better. You could have had 8 minutes of Dolph instead of 4 minutes of the two matches, and that would have brought the grade up a little bit. Change the opener, by the way. Put the opener to Miz and those guys, and let them actually finish the match proper, and the grade would probably get up into the BB plus side.
I mean, the production was, you look back just a decade ago, and I'm like, man, like they still had top-notch production, and like even if I didn't agree with it, it was still fine. Like there was no Del Rio and Big Show wasn't horrible. I might have disagreed with the direction,
but I would have liked to have
that.
I would have liked to have that match number 2.
Yeah, the Miz and the ending was stupid, but the work was great. Like there was no bad matches in the sense of like I was just more irritated with the finish and stuff
Except
like that.
For the
but
Divas
like
match wasn't very good.
the Divas match was a little clunky, but even again, it wasn't. Oh my god, it wasn't the worst I could ever see.
Yeah, it wasn't like they missed spots and stuff. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, it's just weird. I forgot all about Caitlyn. I was like, oh, that's right.
I was like,
yeah, when she came down with the title, I'm like, who's this? And what are we doing? Is she the Impact champion?
Yeah, I give the event a B-. It was just something lacking. The effort was there. I think a couple things that were shoehorned in, a little clunky. And then I know you guys talk about the opener, and I laugh every time I think. But when I heard the opening contest and you heard Big Show's music, I went, oh. You just know it's not going to tear the house down. No disrespect to Big Show.
You just don't do it. You don't put Big Man.
And it was in the middle of a failed Del Rio face experiment. It just wasn't good.
Yeah, Del Rio should have been a heel forever. It's one of the best heels ever. So, for audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. For the O.W.P, this is Dave, Jess, and Craig signing off. Have a good one.
This world is wrong to be.